So the quadratic formula is ax squared. Well, this is the theorem. The quadratic formula theorem is if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and a does not equal 0, then x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all that divided by 2a. So in the problem, we will be doing, the problem is 2x squared plus 2x minus 24 equals 0. So the easiest way to remember your a, b, and c is look at it like this. A equals 2, b equals 2, because this is your a, this is your b, and then c, in this case, is negative 24. Now you know all of your numbers that you need to substitute in for the equation to find x. So, opposite of b, plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. A equals 2, b equals 2, c equals negative 24. Now substitute your values in there, so the opposite of 2 is negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 24, all that divided by 2 times a, which is 2. So you take that and you'd get negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus these two, multiply these together to get negative, 4 times negative 48, which is what this is. 2 times negative 24 gets you a negative 48. And 4 times that is negative 192. So since you're subtracting a negative, take both of these and add them. Divide 2 times 2, which is 4. So let me clear this real quick. So 196, you gotta get the square root of that and then divide that by 4. So the square root of 196 is 14. 14 divided by 4 is 3.5. And the opposite of b was negative 2. So negative 2 plus or minus 3.5 is what you need to do. So first you take negative 2 plus 3.5 to get 1.5. Next you take negative 2 minus 3.5 to get negative 5.5. So these are your two x's because you need to do plus or minus. So then you can take it like 1.5, negative 5.5. Alright, so the second chapter I'm doing is chapter 7.6, which is nth roots. And an nth root is like a square root, but instead of it being squared, for example, if x was squared, there's a square root right there, okay? But if it's an nth root, then it would be x to the n, which means it can literally be any number except for, no, it could be 0, because if you put anything to the 0 power, then it equals 1. So when, I guess you could call it a positive root for n, then you have two solutions. If n is even, you have two solutions. That's a better way to say it. For example, the square root of 16 equals 4 or -4. And instead of writing 4 or -4, you just write, sorry about that, plus or minus 4. Like you saw in the other video, plus or minus is the way to say that. Let me clear this real quick. And then when you have a negative root, or if a root's odd, then you only have one real root. For example, one real root. Just make sure you remember that if n is odd. So the third root of 27 is 3, so it can't be -3, or else your answer would wind up being a negative number. It wouldn't go back to being 27, it would be a negative number. And imaginary roots are when you have the square root of a negative number, but we're not going into that because that's not what nth roots are about. But all you need to remember is that if the root is positive, if n is positive, then you have two solutions, and if n is negative, then you only have one real solution. And it has to be positive. It can't be negative, or else your answer would be negative. That's it.